What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, December 20th, 2023, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now, it is 8:14 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the Middle East and from around the world. So, what everybody's talking about this evening is that the leader of China, Xi Jinping, basically told Biden that China wants to take over Taiwan. And apparently, he said this to Biden when they met in person in San Diego just a few weeks ago. And ABC News is reporting that they have sources that confirm that Xi Jinping told Biden directly at their recent summit that China will reunify Taiwan. And what's interesting is that Taiwan produces over 60% of the world's semiconductors and over 90% of the most advanced ones. And most are manufactured by a single company called the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation. So the US would definitely have to get involved, and they're obligated to if China attacks Taiwan. They have a treaty with Taiwan, and then also the semiconductors being there, very critical to the US and the world economy. And the US led task force in the Red Sea is already in place and ships are deployed. This was confirmed by US National Security Council spokesman John Kirby today, and this is part of the Operation Prosperity Guardian, which I think is going to be a massive strike on Yemen. And I think now we know why we saw all those nuclear warplanes in the air over the last 2 weeks that I was reporting on. If you guys remember, there was that one day last week where there were 6 nuclear war command and control planes up in the air at the same time, and basically, every single day last week, we had multiple nuclear war command and control planes in the air. And now we know why, okay? Because they were getting ready for this operation in Yemen, okay? Our nuclear forces were getting ready. So, something big is about to happen, guys. Get prepared. The U.S. is going to strike Yemen. They have no choice because a lot of global trade goes through the Red Sea. And if they don't do something about Yemen, it's going to affect the economy here in the US and around the world. So this could really turn into a very, very serious situation in Yemen. It's already a serious situation now with all these ships getting targeted by missiles and whatnot. But if there's a full blown war in the Red Sea, that's going to cause all kinds of problems, and we could see escalation in other areas as a result. Iran could get involved. They could try to go after the oil fields in Saudi Arabia, which they already did a few years back. They hit a bunch of oil refineries a few years ago, and they took down like 50% of the oil refineries in Saudi Arabia. They demonstrated that they could do it then, so that means they can definitely do it again if they have to. And that's what I'm concerned about. And the leader of the Houthi rebels today threatened the U.S. in a public address. He said, "We will retaliate against any U.S. attack on our country, and we will make U.S. battleships, interests, and ships a target for our missiles, drones, and military operations. They will face far worse than what they faced in Afghanistan and Vietnam. America and Israel are both arms of global Jewish Zionism. We will not stand idly by if the Americans attempt to escalate further and commit an error by targeting our country or waging war against us." So, very strong words there from the leader of the Houthis. We'll have to wait and see what happens. And the situation between Hezbollah and Israel has escalated significantly today. Apparently, Hezbollah launched dozens of rockets and missiles into northern Israel. There were air raid sirens in northern Israel earlier today, and there were reports of a massive explosion in southern Lebanon earlier today. described by witnesses as the most powerful explosion since the war began, and Israeli fighter jets were seen flying over Beirut, which is the capital of Lebanon. And here's a picture of that massive explosion. So, guys, the situation between Hezbollah and Israel is getting worse. The situation in the Red Sea is getting worse. The situation between Russia and Ukraine is getting worse. Okay. Zelensky just announced the other day that he's going to be mobilizing 500,000 people to join the Ukrainian military. Okay. Drafting 500,000. And Putin announced last week in his end of the year press conference that they're going to have over 600,000 men fighting in Ukraine. So the situation in Ukraine is going to get worse. And this situation with Hezbollah is going to continue to get worse as well. And Israeli and Lebanese mediators fear that time has almost run out to prevent a full scale war in southern Lebanon between the Israeli Defense Force and Hezbollah, with officials in Washington worried that the U.S. will likely be drawn into a conflict. Okay, so mediators on both sides are saying that time is running out. And here we have a spokesman for the Israeli prime minister. I want you to read what he says here. He says Hezbollah's systematic violation of UN Security Council Resolution 1701 have rendered it effectively null and void. After 2.5 months of ignoring our warnings to desist and cease its aggression, Hezbollah is now dragging Lebanon into an unnecessary war that would have devastating consequences for the Lebanese people. The time is now for the international community to act for the full implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 1701, because we are determined to restore security based on that resolution, pushing back Hezbollah. Unless and until a diplomatic solution is found and implemented, we will continue to make the necessary preparations to remove that threat from our border. Okay, that is huge, guys. They're making preparations. Israel's preparing to go to war with Hezbollah. As soon as they're done with Hamas, which they're almost done with Hamas, they're going after Hezbollah, guys. So get prepared. Things are going to get really crazy in 2024. And the situation in Ukraine, I think, is basically in a worst case scenario now, because you have two presidents, Putin and Zelensky, who are under the gun for re-election. So their reputations are on the line. Both of them haven't made any major gains in Ukraine. Okay. Ukraine hasn't taken back any major chunks of land. Russia hasn't advanced further, and they're still continuing to hold the line barely. So both of them are under the gun to show their people that they're effective leaders. Otherwise, they're going to get replaced, or there's going to be a coup. And then also, both of them are under the gun because next year we could have a different president. And for Putin and Zelensky, that would change the whole dynamic. Number one, because of the aid going to Ukraine, if we have a different president, a Republican, the aid might not flow as much to Ukraine, or potentially it could work the other way, and the new president could be even tougher against Putin than Biden has been, because Biden hasn't really been that tough on Putin. He's just been giving Ukraine the bare minimum weapons they need to hold the lines, but not to win. And if there's a Republican, maybe that Republican is going to give Ukraine the weapons they need to win, so the war is over and done with in a short period of time, rather than having this endless war drag on for a decade. And Putin knows that. So both Putin and Zelensky are feeling the heat now. And I really think that in 2024, we're going to see the situation in Ukraine really spiral out of control, alongside with the Middle East. And then also, I believe something's going to happen in Korea. North Korea withdrew from the 2018 agreement that they made with Trump. And basically, North Korea and South Korea have now put their artillery and their forces closer to the DMZ. Okay. So just bad news all around. I mean, it's just getting worse and worse on all fronts. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, they have brought back their 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the discount, you have to use the link preparewithnyprepper.com. And the link is in the description below this video. And this 3-month emergency food supply has a 25-year shelf life, and it's all contained within 6 rugged watertight buckets, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. Free shipping included, 25% off their normal price. Use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get the discount. They also have a 2-week emergency food supply, which is excellent for outdoorsmen or people who go vehicle camping. They also have a general store. If you click the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com, it'll take you to their general store where they have everything you can imagine, from potassium iodide to water filters, solar generators, solar panels, survival seeds, fire starters, anything you can imagine, it's all there. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month freeze-dried food supply. And the link is in the description below this video. And here we have some video footage coming from northern Israel showing the Israeli Iron Dome missile defense system intercepting rockets that were fired by Hezbollah. This was today. And U.S. Central Command confirmed today that at approximately 7:30 a.m. Iraqi time yesterday, a 122 millimeter rocket was fired at the Al Assad Air Base in Iraq, and there were no injuries or damage caused. And according to a report in the Wall Street Journal, Hamas rejected the Israeli proposal for a ceasefire on the grounds that they would not discuss the release of hostages until the ceasefire would come into effect. So Hamas basically wants a ceasefire without giving anything up. So that's not going to happen. And U.S. President Joe Biden said today that he did not expect an Israeli Hamas ceasefire deal for the release of hostages held in Gaza to be struck soon. So, no deal anytime soon being confirmed by Biden. So, it just looks like everything is just getting worse and worse, guys. Okay, no ceasefire in Gaza. We're about to go to war with Yemen. We have Hezbollah attacking Israel more and more. Israel preparing to go after Hezbollah, launch a massive operation in Lebanon, which would draw us into that. We have North Korea, South Korea, China, Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine, Venezuela, Guyana. I mean, what's next? It's just nonstop. Now we have these new uh, cases of pneumonia, child pneumonia, and the new variant for you know what. So things are just getting worse and worse. We have this new volcano erupting in Iceland, and there's no end in sight with that eruption. The experts are saying that that eruption is going to spread further north now. So get prepared, guys. Okay, now is a great time to get prepared because things are about to get really, really crazy soon. And the Israeli military said its troops have located a vast tunnel network under Gaza City that included command and control positions, meeting rooms, and hideout apartments for the most senior leaders of Hamas, including Yahya Sinwar and Ismail Haniyeh. And North Korean leader Kim Jong un said his country would launch a nuclear attack without hesitation in event of nuclear provocations from the enemy, state media said Thursday. Kim made the remarks in an event held Wednesday to praise a missile unit for the successful launch of a solid fueled Hwasong 18 ICBM earlier this week. That was Monday morning. And so it's already Thursday now in Korea. They're 12 hours ahead. Kim said the launch clearly showed enemies the North's offensive countermeasure to launch a nuclear attack without hesitation in the event of any enemy's nuclear provocations, according to the North Korean Central News Agency. Kim stressed that a country's sovereign rights can only be guaranteed through powerful strength, saying true decisive capabilities come from the actual capacity to strike any enemy in a preemptive manner. Okay, so he's saying a preemptive manner, guys. You know what preemptive means? That means a first strike. That means that he could launch this missile at us first. And that missile has a range of 9,000 miles and it's solid fueled. That's huge, guys. That's a game changer. North Korea now has long range, solid fueled missiles. Okay. They basically have the same type of missiles we do now. Okay. They can launch these missiles any second they want because it's solid fueled. Okay. Think about, ammunition. Okay. You don't need to pour fuel into a cartridge before you shoot it out of a firearm. Okay, it's ready to go at any time. That's basically how these missiles work. So that's a game changer and that's a serious threat because he could just wake up one day and decide he wants to launch a strike against us, a preemptive strike at Guam or Hawaii or the West Coast, whatever, or even DC, anywhere he wants, and we wouldn't know about it until that missile is in the air. We're not going to have any indication that these missiles are being fueled up because they're solid fueled. Congress recently approved legislation requiring any future president to receive approval from the Senate or an act of Congress in order to withdraw the U.S. from NATO. The legislation was included as part of the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act, which was approved by both the House and the Senate. So, no president is going to be able to unilaterally withdraw from NATO. They're going to have to get approval from Congress. And I have a source who lives in the New York City area, and this person told me that there were two helicopters of the U.S. military flying south on the Hudson River between New York City and New Jersey this afternoon. And there was also some type of a military plane in the air as well. And what's interesting is another source of mine who lives near Raven Rock told me that there were a lot of fighter jets in the air over Raven Rock yesterday. And the Czech military and reservists will purchase 10,000 drones for the Ukrainian military. And Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin made a surprise visit to the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier. And I think this is very telling of the situation. Okay, what do military commanders do before they go to war? They always want to survey the battlefield. They want to get near the front lines. They want to check their troops. And this is what he's doing. Okay. He's going to the ford. He wants to see the readiness. He wants to see the battlefield. He wants to communicate with the commanders. He wants to get a feel for what's going on that aircraft carrier. Okay, so something big is about to go down in Yemen, guys. And when it does go down, I will stream live 24/7 when the U.S. launches this strike on Yemen. It's coming any day now. It might happen after the holidays. They might just be nice enough to give our sailors some time with their families on Christmas and New Year's. And then I think after that, it's game on. Okay, so Lloyd Austin is surveying the battlefield. Okay, he wanted to go in person to see the commanders there and to see the situation there on the ground or on the water. And I want to read to you what he said using the public address system on the Ford. Speaking to all the sailors, he said, "Sometimes our greatest achievements are the bad things we stop from happening. In a moment of huge tension in the region, you all have been the linchpin of preventing a wider regional conflict." So, that first sentence there, sometimes our greatest achievements are the bad things we stop from happening. Okay, strong words there. And we have a U.S. RQ-4 Global Hawk in the air over the Black Sea right now, keeping an eye on Crimea. And the Lincoln Memorial was vandalized by anti Israel protesters. So they vandalized the steps leading up to the Lincoln Memorial. And here we have some crews trying to clean that up. They spray painted a bunch of stuff. I think here it says Free Gaza or something like that. But yeah, Free Gaza. So they spray painted a bunch of graffiti on the stairs leading up to the Lincoln Memorial. So that's pretty much the latest information that I have, guys. I will be back either later tonight or tomorrow morning with more breaking news. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon below so you get notified when I post these emergency updates. And like I said, if anything kicks off, I will go live 24/7, okay? As long as I have to. So until next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.